and thank you for joining us on World Now. Reformist Masoud Pezeshikian has been elected as Iran's new president, beating his hardline conservative rival Saeed Jalili. The vote was declared in Dr. Pezeshikian's favor after he secured 53.3% of more than 30 million votes counted. Mr. Jalili polled at 44.3%. Recall that the election was called after Iran's previous president, Ibrahim Raisi, was killed in a helicopter crash in May. We have details on this report.
Reformist candidate Masoud Pezeshikian has won Iran's presidential election. This was announced by the country's electoral authority today. Pezeshikian defeated his hardline rival in a pivotal vote amid heightened tensions both domestically and internationally. Even before the final results were declared by Iran's Interior Ministry, Dr. Pezeshikian's supporters had taken to the streets in Tehran and a number of other cities to celebrate. Videos posted on social media showed mostly young people dancing and waving the signature green flag of his campaign, while passing cars sounded their horns. Dr. Pezeshikian is a 71-year-old heart surgeon and member of the Iranian parliament. Iran's new president has been critical of the country's notorious morality police and caused a stir after promising unity and cohesion, as well as an end to Iran's isolation from the world. He has also called for constructive negotiations with Western powers over the renewal of the faltering 2015 nuclear deal, in which Iran agreed to curb its nuclear program in return for an easing of Western sanctions. Following his victory, Pezeshikian appealed for unity and support from fellow Iranians. In his post on social media, the reformist leader called for support and work. He also promised to be available for his country. On the other hand, his rival Saeed Jalili is known for his hardline anti-Western stance and opposition to restoring the nuclear deal, which he says crossed Iran's red lines. Turnout in the latest round of voting was 50%, higher than the first round last week, when the turnout was the lowest since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, amid widespread discontent, but still considerably low.
International Affairs analyst Bayo Adedosu joins me to discuss the outcome of Iran's election. Good to have you join us on The World Now.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today.
So Masoud Pezeshikian, Iran's only reformist candidate, has won the presidential election. How significant is this for Iran?
Well, I need to congratulate the people of Iran for this particular election. The election of Masoud Pezeshikian is actually very fundamental in the sense that Iran and Iranians are trying to move away from the old order of confrontation with the West. And that is why this particular election opens so many doors for Iran to be reintegrated with the rest of the world, particularly the Western countries where they are having issues with regards to the nuclear treaty that was signed, but which Iran chose not to align with. So, and I think the reason why this particular election of this reformist is very key is because Iranians are suffering locally as a result of the various sanctions imposed on them over the nuclear program. So with this, and being that the president-elect is very open to renegotiating this deal and having constructive dialogue, conversations with Western leaders, it simply means it's trying to open up Iran and stop Iran from being a pariah nation, which on the long run will be a win-win for everybody. Because now Iran will definitely redefine its foreign policies. And at the same time, the economy of Iran will have that opportunity to open up and receive what the kind of support and engagement it used to have before all the sanctions were placed on it.
And we're still going to, come back to what effect the outcome of this election will have on external policies in Iran, especially with other nations. But taking it up from what you mentioned about the fact that Iran is trying to move away from the old order, people might actually be concerned about what difference reformists can actually make in Iran, given that the last one was from the Conservative Party.
Well, there's a difference between the late President Ibrahim Raisi. He is of the Conservative Party, who is anti-West, who opposed the 2015 nuclear treaty. And as a result of that, we know all the sanctions were placed on Iran. They were not lifted under him. And he was more confrontational with the Western powers, with the people that that used to be their partners. So in this particular regard, this is a shift away from that foreign confrontation with world economies. And when this is embraced, it simply means the West will look at Iran differently, will now begin to work with the government of Iran and with the people of Iran as against pushing them aside and putting sanctions. When we have sanctions, the sanctions are not against the government. It is not really the government that feels it. It is the people. So in a nutshell, the president-elect is trying to be people-centric. He's trying to put the people of Iran first because he has already knows the impact and the effects of these sanctions on the people of Iran and the untold hardship it has brought on the people. So yes, shifting away, the two parties have different philosophies, they have different ideologies. The reformist is actually coming in with a different agenda, and the agenda, from what I've seen, it is more of joining the global community and working with the rest of the world for the good of the people of Iran.
Mr. Adejusu, some have argued that the current president is sort of a reformist on paper, and he might not be able to effect as much change on ground. That aside, let's talk briefly about external policies and how much of a difference this will make on some questions for Iran, ranging from nuclear issues to conflict in the Middle East. How would this play out?
Well, from all indication, this new president seems to be somebody who wants to cut deals with Western powers. And if he wants to cut deals, if he wants to embrace the Western authority, Western powers, it simply means that confrontation, that old order of things, that Cold War between the West and Iran will have to be reviewed and something will be done. And in that regard, the nuclear armament, the nuclear program, of course, it simply means Iran will be ready to actually work with that treaty, will actually abide by the principles of that treaty. This is going to be a give and take. There's going to be a lot of negotiation. It is too early, too soon to say whether it's going to be a success or not. But the principal thing we should consider is the fact that what is innate for the people of Iran. How well have the people of Iran fared under the previous president who died in the helicopter crash? What good was the confrontation and the image that Iran is given today is that of a country that supports terrorism, whether for good or for bad. It may not be so, because this is all about perception. And a number of times, perception is not really reality, but perception is often taken as the thing that speaks about a people. And that is something that needs to change about Iran, as to not to be seen as a country that actually aids and abets terrorism and provides a safe haven for terrorists. So Iran, on the long run, if the president-elect, Masoud, is able to follow through with his agenda, with the support of the parliament and with the support of the people, I sincerely believe and see a new world order where Iran will be duly reintegrated into the system and be a positive force that will actually bring peace about in the Middle East. the world needs Iran in the Middle East, on all these Middle East conflicts. We cannot segregate any country that is vital to peace in the sub-region. And that is why the world needs to work with Iran, and Iran also needs to work with the rest of the world.
Public Affairs Analyst Bayo Adedosu, thank you for joining us on The World Now.
Thank you so much for having me.